Hello, it's Xavier here. This is a quick Game Master guide on one of the functions in the interactions menu, which is the repairs and damage. It's come up because it was a question that was asked recently after a mission that we'd run in the TSN RP duty shift, and it was something that I don't think I've covered in much depth, and I've just tweaked slightly. So, the interactions menu is mainly focused on interacting directly with a player ship. It's under this INT for short for interactions, and there's all these different options. Just a quick overview of the different options. There's messages, which allows you to send messages directly to a comms officer, and it pops up in their comms screen. There's the ability to change supplies, so you can add or remove ordnance, toggling between the two by clicking the button, and then you can add all the different ordnance, including 100 energy at a time. Obviously you can remove all the different ordnance as well, and each click will remove it from the ship that's selected. There's repairs and damage, which we're going to focus on specifically in this video, so I'll come back to that in a moment. There's the sensors, which allows you to increase and reduce the sensor range without a message, so without the players knowing, which is useful for when, for example, the players transition to a system and you want to set up enemy forces before revealing them all at once. I've used it and I've reduced their sensor range to 8,000, set up enemy formations, and then increased it and not inform the players that I've been doing that. Or you can do it with a message to kind of indicate that enemies are trying to scramble the sensors or something, and it pops up saying sensor range disrupted. So there's those two different options there. Boarding action, which plays out a fun little game in the background where the ships take damage, and then they've got a marine complement on each ship that has to fight off the boarding action. If that marine complement gets too low, then an enemy can sweep through and cause quite significant damage. And the status messages comes through comms as well, so they can keep track of it. Scan text isn't directly affecting a ship, and it's probably the only one in the interactions menu that doesn't affect a ship. Instead, you can select an NPC ship or a station and apply certain scan text to those. So for example, if you had a transport and you wanted it to have refugees on, you could have a refugee marker. If you want it to be of certain interest because there's some weird shielding or something, it's in there as well. So there's just a few different options. Right, looking mainly though at the repairs and damage is what we're going to focus on. So when I select the ship, I can directly repair the ship or damage the ship systems. Now when you repair or damage, it takes that system down 100%, so it's not like you can do 25%, 10 and 50%. It goes completely. So in the damage ship menu, you can see my ship's completely repaired here, so there's no damage to it, and all the Damcon teams are full. In the damage menu, I can affect the different ship systems. I can't damage hallways, but I can affect different ship systems. So I can damage beams, I can damage shields, I can also wound the Damcon teams. So for example, Damcon Team 0 is actually what the players would see as Damcon Team 1. Damcon Team 1 is what the players would see as Damcon Team 2, and Damcon Team 2 is what the players would see as Damage Control Team 3. The reason is just the way that the code is set up. Damage Control Team 1 is actually marked as 0. So if I wound Damage Control 0, you can see now I've only got 2 Damage Control teams. Damage Control Team 3 and 2. The other one's been completely removed. So instead of just causing one casualty, it just destroys that team outright. I could also damage, say, the maneuver on a ship. So if I go here, and I need to select the ship, otherwise it doesn't work, and damage the maneuver, I can go back. You can see the 4 maneuver nodes on the ship are now 100% damaged, and the maneuver's been completely disabled. I could go and I could damage, say, the warp systems as well, and you can see the warp nodes have gone out. And let's do one more. Let's do torpedoes, which are here. Okay, so you can cause damage to certain areas of the ship. I could go through and damage the whole of the ship if I wanted. I can also repair it, so I could bring that damage control team back online, healing them, which would bring the... So I've got now damage control team 1, 2, 3 and 2, 1, 2 and 3, so they're all there. I could also fix those torpedoes very quickly, so they're now repaired. So each individual ship I can affect by removing a system that I want. There's also this extra option of random damage. Now random damage is set to damage each individual ship or all the ships at once if I wanted, between a random timer and a random system. So if I set that going, for example, I could set it going on the TSN Sabre by clicking here. It brings up this damage Sabre option. The reason being is because this is just an on switch. Now what will happen is a timer starts going, it sets itself between 3 and 24 seconds, and then after that time is finished, a random system is picked to be damaged. So you can see one maneuver node has been damaged there. And then it happens again, you get 3 to 24 seconds, then another random area is picked to be damaged. And it will keep going and going and going until you switch it off, or the ship is destroyed, obviously. In fact, I think even when the ship respawns, it will keep going. So it allows you to simulate random damage. This came up in a mission recently where we had, say, some hidden mines that were causing damage to our ship, or some disruption in a nebula as well. Say that's part of your scenario that causes random damage to your ship. It is there and it is set, and it can cause damage across each individual ship. To switch it off on the TSN Sabre, I would just click damage TSN Sabre and it would then switch it off. So the Sabre is not going to take any more random damage now. The newest option on this has been the set all. When I click on that, you'll see every button comes up for each ship, and then all the ships will start taking random damage. So the TSN Sabre is taking some damage here to rear shields, it's taking some damage here to primary beams. It's like I say, it's important to note that it will only damage nodes that are designated as a system. Hallway damage doesn't happen, simply because you can't select and designate specific hallways to be damaged. And it will keep going indefinitely until I switch it off, basically. Now with them all switched on, it is possible to go back and switch them off. You can't switch them all off at the same time, but at the same time it doesn't take very long to switch them off. I can switch each individual ship off by clicking on their damage icon. So for example here I've got Damage Hunter, I can switch it off just by clicking it. Damaged Necessity, I can switch that off by clicking it. So now the Hunter and the Necessity, if they were spawned, wouldn't be taking damage, however the other ships would still be taking damage. And then I can go back and I can obviously switch on the Hunter again, so I can switch it on there. And the button reappears and disappears. Now the timers on these and the way that it's set might adjust slightly, so I might reduce the amount of time between each damage just to make it a bit more difficult, or I might increase it. It depends how it works out. It's something that we've rarely used, so I've not been able to tweak to figure out what works best. In a combat situation it might look very easy now that all the damage is being repaired fairly quickly, but with damage control teams that have been wounded or even destroyed, and like in combat with other damage going on, it might be more difficult, so we just need to balance and tweak as we go. I think a good idea would be to decrease the time, so it's between 3 and say 20 seconds or 3 and 15 seconds, which I can do in the sandbox. Alright, that's everything on that. I'm gonna disable all that damage, and I'll come back and I'll go through some of the other menu options at another time. Thanks for watching, and keep an eye out for other GM guides.